You were trying to add another stream. And I can, let me see. Present. I don't know if you'll be able to see it though, what I'm looking at. Share screen. Share. And then we'll go like this. All right. This is what I'm looking at right now. So it says edit post formats. I'll show you what it looks like here. So edit. We click your group here, and this is the information that I had put in for the page. I didn't realize it was the page. I thought it was the group. So all right, what just happened? Oh, there we go. I think we got it. Oh my God. All right. I'm going to remove this. Holy shit. I think we got it.
No, I hope we're not live right now.
Oh, you are?
In the group?
No, you must have clicked live.
I did. I got tired of waiting. So we good?
What I will say is that technical difficulties are normal when it comes to this type of stuff, right? So we were connected to your page and not to your group, but somehow you must have clicked the button on your end, and now we're live.
Oh, so perfect.
So whatever you did, you fixed it.
I just started hitting buttons. I had people texting me. So, so we're good now.
Yes, we are currently live. It looks like there's 2 people currently watching. First off, I want to apologize. Sometimes technology doesn't want to work with you, and we had his page connected and not the group connected, so we tried to connect the group as we were getting ready for the live. But now that we are fixed, we can get on with the show. First off, thanks for looks like there's 2 people watching right now. Thanks for kind of hanging around while we were fixing our technical difficulties. If you guys don't know who I am, my name is Jamar Jones. I am a member inside the Small Biz Acquisitions Facebook group. I'm also kind of like the marketing arm for Robert, helping him do a lot of the back end work. A little bit about me. I'm a longtime Coast Guard active duty lieutenant living in Houston, Texas. And I currently run a digital marketing agency. I've done a lot of lead gen. I've done a lot of basically like building funnels and some email automation and affiliate marketing and things like that. So I'm kind of a marketing nerd, but that's the basic gist of me. I've learned a lot from Robert so far, as you know, in terms of, you know, what it's going to take to build a small business. But we agreed mutually that this would be a really great way to provide you guys with some value and to let you guys know, whether you're brand new to the group or, you know, you've been around for a little while, learn a little more about Robert and what this group can offer you. So for those of you who might be watching, who might be brand new and just seeing us for the first time, I'm going to go ahead and let Robert introduce himself, kind of give his background story and how the group came about.
Hey guys, I'm Robert Nance, the small biz buyer, and I started this group. I've been buying companies since 1999, and I started this Facebook group because I was speaking to a guy that I was helping buy a business, and he said, "You know what? There's no information out here like what you're giving us," and that's why I target this first-time small biz buyer, and we only let people into the group who we believe are first-time small biz buyers based in the U.S. So it's very difficult for an individual sitting in Cyprus or in the UK who doesn't understand the laws of the US to teach you how to buy a company in the US. And I saw these other huge groups, 10, 20,000 people. I saw questions being asked that were all over the board. And and then I saw first-time buyers. And you can tell a first-time buyer by their questions. They're wanting basic information. They're wanting to know, how do I get started? What do I need to do? Where do I go? just the basic information, not how to roll up a company in 20, and in 10 years, move it forward, but just what do I do right now? How do I get started? And that's what my intent is with the group. It's more of a one-way type group. There's not a lot of discussion in it because typically we have first-time buyers. There's not a lot of information, two-way information going. So my objective is I've got Jamar and I've got about 5 to 6 other people that are helping build the group that know what the goals of the group are. And it's since the group's been formed, I've decided, well, out of your request, to start forming partnerships with operators. And that's really what I'm doing now. I'm forming partnerships. I'm in my house in Mexico right now. I'm buying hotels here. And so I love the idea of buying companies, but I can't operationally do them anymore. So based on your request, I've started putting together a team to support the back to support the back end of my operational partners, outsourced CFO, CEO, chief marketing, and then director of sales. So that's pretty much why I started the group, and that's who I am. And I love buying small businesses.
Yeah, and since I've been in the group, I think I've been in there for a handful of months now. I tend to see a lot of the same questions, and I'm brand new to buying small businesses myself, and those frequently asked questions come up time and time again, and we're going to use a portion of this live to cover some of those frequently asked questions, so that when people watch this back over again, they'll hopefully get some of their questions answered. Rob, what does it mean to you? Like, what is a small business?
I define the small business. Everybody has a different definition. I define it as a typically mom and pop owned, doing between 1 and 5 million in sales. There's other criteria as well, but that's typically what I define as a small business. That's what we, as a first time business buyer, that's where you should begin, in these mom and pop, and we'll go over more criteria as well throughout the questions, but that's really what I define it as, doing between 1 and 5 million in sales.
Okay. So I'm brand new to the group. Where should I even start? It seems like it's kind of overwhelming at first, but like, if I want to acquire my first small business, what do you recommend is kind of the first step?
Well, that was one of my biggest questions this week. I don't know if the guys in the group know that I'm always accessible, and I like to get on phone calls, and I've had about 10 this week with new people, with people that have been in the group, and the main question is just where do I start? And you really start with understanding who you are. Anytime you start a new profession, if you were to go into a profession, your hard skill sets that you use in your current profession would translate over as soft skills. And so you need to understand how to convert those soft skills into hard skills. And that's where I really start with everybody. Who are you? What do you do? Do you understand key concepts? In the group, there's an ebook. It goes over evaluating key concepts, floors and ceilings. That's a concept that I created. We put floors on liabilities and ceiling, or floors on assets and ceilings on liabilities, where inside the contract, during the interim period that after you contract a deal, they can't take assets out or add liabilities without you getting credit for it. You have to understand multiples. You need to understand SDE, and really understand add backs of how brokers and sellers get to the SDE. The importance of key employees, a stock sale versus an asset sale, the LOI, and how floors and ceilings and all the concepts I just mentioned work inside the LOI, which goes to a contract. And I'm using the shortened version of everything intentionally, so you'll go into and read the ebook and understand these concepts. Like, if you don't know what an LOI is, that's something you need to go in and learn. It's a letter of intent. If you don't know what SDE is, it's seller's discretionary earnings, you need to know that, because that's how you buy a company. It's simply a factor, a multiple of SDE. The price is simply a multiple of SDE. And so those are the key concepts you really want to understand. as far as buying businesses. Now, the questions you have to ask yourself, there's four main questions that you need to figure out as an expert buyer, and I call that the roadmap for your acquisition. And there's four key pillars to the roadmap. The financial piece: how much do you want to make? Now, you got to figure out that your debt service is going to be subtracted from that. So the only thing subtracted from SDE, seller's discretionary earnings, is going to be the debt service of the company, which we'll get into in a bit too. And then that SDE minus debt service equals your new SDE. Old SDE minus debt service equals the new SDE. And that's how much you make. SDE is what you bring home. Where you want to be located. What geographical region are you going to be in? Are you going to be local, or are you going to be national? And so it's important to have a conversation with the family about this question, because if you're married, if you got kids, where are they supporting you in this acquisition piece? And I go through this in quite detail with my new partners, because national, and so it's very important you talk as a family and figure out, is it local or national, and then what type of ownership are you looking for? And I've created a scale I call the absenteeism scale. And so sitting home on your couch is a 10, receiving a check every month, going and opening the door every morning and closing the door at night is a 0 or a 1. And so where do you want to be? Now, we'll get into no money down transactions in a bit, and yes, they are. I just got an LOI accepted today, another one for one of my guys, and they're all out there, and I'll go into that in just a bit. And the difference between no money down and 100% seller financing. 100% seller financing does not exist. No money down transactions do exist. So most people in the absenteeism scale, they want to be at an 8 or a 9. Well, that's great, but you're not going to buy a company with no money down from someone who's sitting on a couch receiving a check every month. It's just not going to happen. So you've got to have a skill set, the operational skill set, that you can buy a 2, 1 or 2 or 3, and convert it over to an 8 within the 6 to 9 month time frame. And that's if you know what you're doing, that's very doable. And then the fourth one is industry, and we'll go over that in a bit as well. But these are the four main pillars. The industry, you have to decide what industry you want to be in, and once you understand those things, those four things, you're on your way. Those four pillars, you're on your way to creating the criteria for your first acquisition. Now, once you create that criteria for your first acquisition, which it's in the group under guides, you can go look at it. There's a course that I'm building from my live coaching and teaching. That's inside the group. Then you start building the criteria for your first acquisition, which that's exactly what you do. It's a roadmap. It tells you exactly how to go buy your first company. So did I explain that?
Yeah. And honestly, I think industry is a really good place to start, because there are a lot of different industries out there, and some may be more complex than others. How would I know like what industry or what business is going to be right for me as a first time small business buyer?
If you've got a lot of money, you go to any industry you want. Any industry you want. If you're looking to do a little money down or no money down transaction, you've got to go into an industry that's heavily laden in assets. There's mainly 4 categories of assets as well. Cash. You got to look at accounts receivable. There needs to be heavily laden in accounts receivable. So what type business, what type industry, what type overarching business? There's 2 types. There's B2B and B2C. What type business has accounts receivable? Well, it's B2B. B2C doesn't have accounts receivable. They get cash from the customer. So that eliminates B2C if you're looking to do an LBO, leverage buyout, using the assets of the company to buy itself, which is done all day long. These companies that we look at in the industries that I target are heavily laden with assets. They may have 6 months worth of inventory sitting there. They may have accounts receivable sitting there that are 90 days past due. They're just not being run efficiently. And that's the bottom line. That's how you buy companies with no money down. You're using these companies. You don't accept anything over 30 days. So if they've got 60 to 90 days worth of accounts receivable, you give that to the owner at closing. The cash in the account, you give that to the owner at closing. Many reasons. I've created these modules. I've been through every type scenario with so many owners that it's I've got a lot of stories about why I transfer the cash account, the bank account at closing. So there's many reasons why I do what I've done over the years. But the reason, the type industry you look for are heavily laden with assets, heavily laden with accounts receivable, cash, inventory, and then accounts payable is a good piece as well. But those are the main categories you look for. So B2B, heavily laden asset companies.
Okay. So personally for me, I know people, I've heard a lot of people talk about brokers and things like that. Is it better to work with a broker or for me to go out and find my own deal?
Now, you have to work with a broker. You're trying to take on 2 full-time jobs that you have no idea how to do either one. If that makes sense to you, you're going out and trying to buy a business and trying to become a broker. Go list a company. You don't have any idea how to list a company unless you are a broker. You know how to list a company. But those two jobs are mutually exclusive. Brokers come in all day long. Well, I've got quite a few brokers that ask me these questions, and I say you've got to stop thinking like a broker because now you're a buyer. A broker is a very special skill set, and he's well worth the money you're going to pay him at the end. Plus, the way I do my businesses is I've got 10 to 20 businesses at all times we're negotiating. You can't do that if you're trying to list a business. It's going to take you 6 months to list a business, 3 to 9 months to list a business. So you got to use a broker. You can't take on that much work. You'll never get a business bought.
Where can you find and access a broker that you can trust? Because I feel like there has to be a little, some trust there.
Not really. Not if you know what you're doing. Now, it's biz buy sells where you go. That's just it. It's just biz buy sell. You just go there and you find there's thousands of brokers, tens of thousands of companies, and you just can't. And I hear that question a lot. I hear the question, "Hey, how can I get a deal flow going?" Well, you go to biz buy sell and you start your deal flow. It's just nothing. There's no other way to do it as a first time buyer.
Okay. You briefly touched on, floors and ceilings and who they work for, why they work for the no money down transactions. You want to go in a little more detail about that? Because I know the first time I read that in your ebook, I kind of got a little bit lost where I was like, is this the best way? Is this the best approach in your opinion?
Yeah. I deal with it. This, yeah, it is absolutely 100% the best. It makes sure that it assures you that if you get to closing in the balance sheet, if you contract a company January 1st and you close February 15th, well, you're really buying the assets and the liabilities as of January 1st. Now, the company's going to change over that 15 days, but the concept of floors and ceilings inside the contract doesn't allow it to change atypically. So assets have to go up if liabilities go up. Assets can go down if liabilities go down. So it has to be congruent across the field. And I'm in the closing. Yesterday. Owner took out $100,000. Owner took out $92,000. Paid down a debt of $92,000, and expected not to. I mean, literally in cash, $100,000 we couldn't do, and literally didn't expect to have that taken out of the down payment that we owed. Well, the attorneys straightened him out real quick because that's what he signed, and that's what floors and ceilings do. They make sure you get at closing what you contracted for.
Okay.
Did I explain that? I mean, did I explain that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. And another question that I've seen is probably one of the most frequent questions, which is, what if I don't have the money, right? They just don't have the money for the down payment, so they're
you're going to have to have you're going to have a financial balance sheet to get in the door. Now luckily with being my partner, you get that balance sheet. You get our balance sheet as a buyer. So there's no issues. Now as you on your own, you've got to have a balance sheet. You've got to figure that piece out. There's different people that say different ways, but I don't. I like to really have the real money. So with me and being my partner, we give you our balance sheet. There's never an issue about money. There's once you get past it, and you don't need the money. In a no money down transaction, you don't need the money, but you got to have the money. People with money make money, and it's true. Once you have this balance sheet in place, and you don't want to be fraudulent about it, you want to really have the information, or you'll have the assets. If you've got to partner with someone, or you've got to find someone who will lend you their, go into partnership with you that has the money, or you've got to have the assets. And if you have the assets, but they're going to look for cash, they're going to look for 500,000 in typically, depending on what size you're buying, 300,000 to 500,000 in cash.
So what would you say if I came to you and I said, I'm really looking for financing. I really want to acquire my first small business, but I'm coming with a little bit of baggage. I've got some bad credit and some stuff like that. Is that gonna affect my ability to be able to move
nobody
forward?
in the business acquisition world except SBA checks credit, and you never use an SBA loan. Seller financing 100% of the time. Never bring a third party lender in. And that's a great question. I get it a lot. And you bring a third, and I dealt with this yesterday as well. Sellers always lie. This is just the way it is. You can lie, you can like that statement or not, but every transaction I did, they lied about something. Now it may have been intentional, it may have been accidentally, but they lie about something. And so it's a danger to bring a third party lender in, because the third party lender will say, well, you should have done your due diligence. Well,
right.
A small business buyer doesn't have $30,000 to go do due diligence on these companies. Part of the due diligence is the floors and ceilings concept that allows you to offset the note in the future if you do find out that they've lied about something. You just attach the bill, give them the check, and that's it. And they've already pre-signed that you have the ability to offset this note if there's undisclosed liabilities that come up in the future.
Yeah, I think personally for me, when I think about just the process as a beginner, I feel like it's going to take me forever, right? From square one all the way to where I'm acquiring your first small business. In your experience for brand new small business buyers, what's been like the timeline where you can take somebody from kind of the starting line and get them to the close?
With me or without, or with a mentor or without a mentor?
How about both?
Without 80 to 90% of people will not buy a small business. It's just too many. There's just too many issues. I had 125 units in Dallas in 1999, and I bought a 20,000 square foot Mexican meat distributor. Well, I bought the building because I was trying to consolidate all my 100 employees. I didn't know what I was going to do with this business, but I had a lot of people that helped. I mean, and I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying this that I had a lot of people working for me, and it was so difficult even then. I had CFOs, I had COOs, and we just had to figure it out. It's just too difficult on your own. It's just too difficult. Some people are going to be able to figure it out.
Yeah, I think there's more of a chance.
It's not worth the pain. Yeah, it's not worth the pain. Yeah. It's not worth the pain. It's just a lot of pain. With me, it takes about. I have 3 modules. So this what we're talking about today is the foundation. That's the first 30 days. The 30 to 60 days is the beginning, and then the 60 to 90 is the acquisition. Now, typically, 90-day acquisition is atypical. You usually don't buy a business in 90 days, but you're submitting LOIs. It's been about 66 days for one of my guys, and we just had an LOI. We're close. We're very, very close. The broker just wrote back today. We're super close. Let's just go up 100,000 in down payment. Let's do this, which we can do. We can easily do. So we can easily close that deal, and he'll have his business under contract within 90 days. So, but it's a process you have to go through without knowing this. And I'm putting the full process in the group. I'm putting it out there. It's for free. It's yours for free. It's taken me a little while because a course does not work. You cannot go buy a course, and it just doesn't work, especially with people who build the course that have never bought a US based small business. So my course is based on my live coaching, my live teaching. I mean, and I've got probably 60 to 80 hours right now, and we're editing it. So I'm trying to figure out how to edit it and how you can learn from what we do every day.
Right. Yeah. And I think that most often than not, that hands-on approach and the mentorship, it just alleviates, those costly errors, I'm sure, which could be extremely costly. So
yeah, they are. Time's your biggest cost. What are you gonna stay in your job? You hate the job, you're gonna stay there for another year because you didn't take a mentor on, or someone who understands how to buy businesses and really understands how to buy businesses. It's starting to get into a pitch here, and I don't want it to sound like a pitch, but this is just the facts. And it's just very difficult to buy your first small business.
awesome. Yeah. And to anybody watching this, there's an ebook that you guys can access. It's inside the Facebook group. You guys can search for it. It should be towards the top, and that'll be a really good starting point, especially if you're in the beginning of your journey of trying to buy your first small business.
So I kind of want to go a little bit in depth about that first piece, and this is inside guides inside the Facebook group. This structure, I'm filling it in as I go. But when you create the roadmap, you've got to answer those 4 questions: financial, how much you want to make; geographical, where do you want to be; ownership, what type owner do you want to be; and then the industry. So I want to go back into industry a little bit, because you were pushing me just a second.
Yeah.
I don't think I answered that in detail. So the industries, I'll just tell you, it needs to be, for me, wholesale distribution and a little manufacturing. That's where the asset laden companies are. You got about 100 small business sellers retiring, or baby boomers retiring every day. That's what you've got in the U.S. right now in that side industry. You got about 10,000 companies currently for sale. Nationally, that's nationally. That's why I don't like losing out here. This is a big boom right now. There's a lot of people selling right now. A lot of baby boomers are retiring. I understand. I understand. Now, I don't know if it's hard facts. There's about 100 per day retiring. And so, and once you get that, you have to really understand who you are, what your story is. A 45-second elevator pitch about when you contact that first broker, you tell him who you are. You say, I'd love to have an NDA, it's an NDA. You have to sign an NDA so you don't disclose, non-disclosure agreement. You don't disclose something or whatever the information is, which it's not that important, but they have you sign it. And then you tell the broker, listen, this is who we are. This is what we're doing. I want you to send me an NDA, and I'll fill it out and send you back my financials. And you've got to have that story, that congruent story. Why is this broker going to accept you? Why is he going to get off the phone and call that seller and say, hey, I've got the perfect buyer? Or he's going to get off the phone and talk to the seller. He's going to say one of two things: I got the perfect buyer, or I got this shithead that we're not going to deal with him. And you really want him to say the first. You want him to say, I got a perfect buyer for you. And that all depends on the story, the pitch. And we spend about the first 2 to 3 weeks working on what we're going over right now, figuring this out, figuring out who you are, figuring out the roadmap, figuring out the criteria for your first, before we contact the first broker. Everything I'm going over today with you, Jamar, is before we contact the first broker, before you make the first call, because you'll start burning these companies and burning your reputation if you don't have this down. There's a lot of companies, it's all about supply and demand, but you got to figure this out. You got to have your financials figured out. You got to have your story. Who am I? And you got to have, you got to have everything in line, the criteria for your first acquisition. You don't know, people jump on the website, and I get it. We want to play around, but they don't, you dive into a rabbit hole if you don't do this foundational work first. It's very important you understand what we're talking about right now, and you put it in place. Because you get on the biz buy sell, you'll jump down a rabbit hole and start looking at companies all over. You'll never ever buy a company because you don't know what you're looking for. You got to know what you're looking for. You got to know who you are, and you got to have your financials together, and you got to have your story right.
And as you were talking earlier, I was trying to think to myself, do you think that the way the economics are right now in the country, everybody keeps, the last 6 months, I swear they keep the Fed, raises interest rates, and they talk about recession. Do you see this impacting the small business acquisition side of things, or do you think it's going to increase the amount of people who are ready to sell their businesses and kind of move on before what may be deemed like any kind of economic collapse or anything? Like, do you and this is just me speaking from the perspective of like, is there going to be more opportunity
Yeah.
in the next 6 months to a year?
Yeah.
Do you see
Yeah.
it, more opportunity arising?
Yeah, I do. COVID helped me define that exact question. Before, I really didn't. That wasn't in my equation. But COVID, that's one of the reasons I'm buying hotels in Central and South America right now, because of COVID. Is about 2 years ago is when we stopped buying U.S. based companies, and and we're starting up again. We're starting up again. I see the change now. But it helped me. COVID helped me define what industries and what type companies I'm looking for. Recession proof, COVID proof. And nothing is recession proof. Nothing is necessarily 100% COVID proof. But we know pretty much what not to buy. May not know exactly what to buy, but we know what not to buy. And so we focus on those industries and those type companies. So, but yet there's a lot of opportunity. People are wanting to retire. They're not going to not retire because we're in a recession. They're not going to not retire because we're not in a recession. They're not going to not retire because of COVID. They're going to retire. These people are tired of running these businesses. You just have to focus on businesses that are not going to have a downturn. And you've got to know what that is also. So there's just a lot of things inside these small business acquisitions that over the years you learn. And so
right.
That's the knowledge I like to share. So,
yeah. So what can people look forward to you, like in respects to the Facebook group? Like, so, kind of moving forward, because this Facebook group, I feel like, is really tight knit. It's small, but it's growing, every single day. So what can people kind of expect, inside
the main thing is,
I'd like to do more of these lives. I'd like to do more of these lives and continue the conversations, because I learn the most, when I'm in this type of setting, and I'm pretty sure most people are in the same seat as me. But in terms of the Facebook group, is there anything coming up, or anything that you want people to keep their eye on, be watching for, or anything like that?
Yeah. I'm building the course. It's free. It's inside the Facebook group under guides, and I'm populating it as I go. I record all my one-on-one sessions, and I'm editing that out to where there's no proprietary information given. That it's just general information. But that's what I've got, the 60 to 80 hours. That's coming, and so all the structure's in there already. I just have to populate it. Yes, there's going to be more lives. We've already talked about this. I think I've had a lot of requests. I get a lot of the same questions, and I want to answer them. So any questions you guys throw out, and I want them to know that you have access to me. My phone number is there. These people, the majority of people, more people reach out to me personally than post questions. So, and that's never. I don't know of a group that's like that. You can reach out to me. It's I'm available. If I can't talk that day, we'll schedule a call. But I had about 10 this week, and very, very good calls. And I'm exiting a couple. I'm able to take on about 5 new partners this first quarter, 4 to 5. It depends. It depends on if we exit this deal that we're working on right now, or we keep working on it through the first of the year. But between 4 to 5 new operational partners is what I'll be looking for. I put up all the money. We do all the work together. This is not some course. This is we buy companies, and I take ownership in the back, but you're going to be the majority owner. You're going to be running the business. You have my support. If you need a down payment, my private equity firm comes in and puts the down payment down. You use my financials. So it's a pretty simple. I don't have issues. I'm looking for the best of the best. I'm looking for great operations people. You don't have to have operations necessarily in the type business we're buying. but you need to have managerial skills. You need to be able to, our support CFOs and CEOs and COOs, they help, they're going to help support you. I think there's a huge opportunity right now in small business acquisitions, and I want to be part of it. Just so happen to be buying bigger things right now, but
Yeah.
it in different countries because of COVID, and I've got organizations here and in Colombia, and we're buying things here. But I focus on my U.S. partners about 2 days a week, and you go do the work. I'll show you exactly what to do. You do the work. We talk once or twice a week, and you have full access to me 24 hours a day. Any questions, you ask me, but you do anyway in the group. You can ask me anything in the group anyway. So that's the idea. And that's actually just started developing because of the group members asking me, hey, can we do this? Well, let me figure this out. But yeah, it works. It seems to work out well.
Great. Yeah. And if anybody's watching this replay, you guys can go ahead and you can throw your questions down here underneath this video, or like any other Facebook group, you can ask your questions in there, and Rob will get back to you within a reasonable amount of time. Right. So,
we respond quickly. We've got people handling the Facebook groups, but I'm the one usually responding to any post. They come directly to me, and again, you can contact me. I'm very, very accessible. I'm looking to buy companies. I want to buy companies, and there's a lot of companies to buy. I'm looking for the right people, and that's kind of what it's about. Anything else? Any other questions in this first section?
No. I think we covered a lot in this. I think we're just passing 35, 36 minutes. Appreciate your time. Look forward to future calls with you, and
Great.
Hopefully, providing the group along the way with some value.
Great. And if you guys in watching the replay want to be able to ask questions during the next lives, tell us. Well, I think Jamar, I think you can facilitate that, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right, guys. Thanks. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.